We talked about today's topic being agents of kindness. It takes a lot of courage to be kind. I know you all have kindness in you, but I think some of us have selective kindness. It's easier to be kind to the people who think like us, who agree with us, people we like. Then it's easier to be kind than to people we disagree with or don't understand. Sometimes we don't know. So the call today, because this is a basic teaching we have in this philosophy that we hold, the science of mind, religious science. We hold the philosophy of God is all there is, and God is love. And what we know about kindness is that kindness is the outpicturing of God's love. It doesn't say, oh, you can be kind to these people and not to these people. No, it's the outpicturing of God's love. And since we're here, we're born here on this planet to be the conduits, the vessels, the instruments of God's goodness and God's love and God's kindness. We have to continually adjust ourselves to be able to be kind to more and more people because we're all works in progress. But there's some kindness, some goodness, some love, some belief in something greater in all of us. And you and I need to start right where we are, right now, in this minute, right here, to let ourselves grow in who we're meant to be, the full expression of light and love and goodness. I'm going to say something to you. And it was kind of hard to swallow right now in the world because we're so separated and divided. It's hard to understand. You don't have to agree with one thing about someone to be kind to them. You don't have to agree with anything, but you can be kind. And that's the kind of kindness I'm calling on. And that's when the Dalai Lama said, kindness is my religion. It's being kind even when everything is taken away, and he could still be kind to those that took life and land and property and tried to take everything from him. He could still say, kindness is my religion. In our philosophy, we have a declaration of principles that states what we truly believe, the basic essence of what we believe. And one of those declarations is, we believe in eternal goodness, eternal loving kindness, and eternal givingness of life to all. Everything, goodness, everywhere. We're not born into sin with a vengeful, punishing God. We believe that we're born as an original blessing to the world. And of course, we have to learn how to be a blessing. There's no handbook, but we have to learn how to be that. And when we learn to tap into that place that Gretchen was singing about, that hero in us, there's a place in us that knows how to be kind and that people are good in them. You know, it was my buddy, 13th century mystic Rumi, who said, acts of loving kindness are iridescent wings of divine love that touch and uplift people long after you've shared. Kindness is contagious. People feel it. It lives on, it's evolving. And so that's what you and I are talking about this morning. Now, in this teaching that I'm talking about, there is no room. What Ernest Holmes teaches, there is no room for coldness, criticism, unkindness. But we all fall there, of course, because we're working, we're learning, we're students. We're not there yet. But there's no room for that in the ultimate knowing and truth. We have to be really careful of being intolerant. We have to be really, really careful of feeling we're holier than thou because we know things. I guarantee you every one of those people on our wall and the true spiritual heroes in the world are humble. They don't feel better and separate. There's a feeling of oneness that happens. So if I was going to define kindness, and I'd like you to just take a little test inside yourself where it's hardest for you to practice this kindness. Kindness speaks with love. So the words are kind and loving and caring. And listens, this might be the hardest, with patience and does acts of compassion. And that's what really the definition of kindness we're looking for. But it's a little hard to get there. It's hard to be in that place. But I want to read you a quote from another one of my favorite Sufi mystics of the 14th century, Hafez, 13th or 14th. And he said, listen, this world is a lunatic's sphere. Don't always agree it's real. Even with my feet upon it and the postman knowing my door, my address is somewhere else. For all of us to understand, our address is somewhere else. We're having this human experience to learn and grow and become more conscious and aware. But we came from God, we came from love, we came from eternal kindness. So that's in us, even when we forget and can't find it. We have to remember that it's there. It's there always. You know, in the 1980s, I heard the name Dr. Brian Swimme. And Dr. Brian Swimme wrote a book called The Universe is a Green Dragon. Well, who wouldn't buy that book? I mean, doesn't that sound fun? It's a creation story. Well, he's a very intellectual guy, and it's a story of a wise man speaking to a young one about the creative essence of the universe and the creativity that's involved in viewed in everything. Well, Dr. Brian Swimme is a professor at the California University, or the California College of Integral Studies, and he teaches evolving cosmetology. And he teaches it to graduate students in all different departments, but that's what he teaches. He believes, as we do, we live in an evolving universe, and we are always evolving. And the universe has always been evolving, because that's the creative nature of God. And he believes all the disasters we're having now, all the difficulties, come from us believing we do not live in a sacred universe. That we forget life is sacred. Everything comes from that one spirit. And we forget that all life is sacred. And he says we could fix our problems if we would just change our consciousness, change the way we look at things, and realize that everything we look at is sacred. That we would really fix the problems that we have today. And that's where kindness comes from. That we can see life as sacred. There's something really special about it. You know, all the great cultures and teachings and religions have had one basic premise. It may be worded a little bit different, but it's all the same. It's the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's just a basic teaching of everywhere, everything, everyone. And we have to be learning more and more how to get there. You know, sometimes we look at the kindness in the world and all these big acts of kindness, and you think, oh, I could never get there. But Mother Teresa, who's another one on our wall here, she started the Missionaries of Charity in 1950. And these Missionaries of Charities grew and grew with 4,500 nuns, or sisters as they were called, 4,500 nuns, and they served 133 countries in the poorest, most impoverished, most difficult areas to bring love and kindness. And she learned that the small acts of kindness can be done with great love. And they were the most important things. She shares a story of some sisters who were in some outlying places in Rome, and they went to a place that they'd never seen before. It was a shut-in area where the most impoverished, sickly people lived. And they met a man in one of these small shut-in areas that they said was just so miserable. He was just such a miserable man and so unhappy. And they went in and they washed his clothes and cleaned his area and brought him warm water and made some food for him. And they would go in twice a day for several days, and the man didn't speak a word to them. Nothing. So on the next day they went in, and the man sat up and said, "You've brought God to me. Would you bring the priest to me?" These small acts of kindness that were what they did all over. They were the things they did for everyone, everywhere. he sat up and he said, "You've brought God to me." And so the priest came in, and the man had his confession that evening with the priest, and he died the next day. They'd given him the freedom to leave the confines of this world and be freed in spirit by small acts of love that change things. So can we think when we're bringing just a small act of kindness that we're doing something in love, in light? Now, in order to do that, what I've learned in my life is we have to be open to all experiences. I think we get kinder the more we embrace all experiences of life. I know Mechthild of Magdeburg. I love to say her name. She's another mystic. I love these mystics, 13th century mystic. But she said, in life, we're given 2 glasses of wine to drink. A glass of white wine, which is joy, and a glass of red wine, which is suffering. Until we've drunk deeply of both, we haven't fully lived. And I would say until we've drunk deeply of both and understood it, the joys and sorrows of life, we can't live fully out in the world and be as compassionate and loving as we'd like to be. Can you think in your life those times of great joy when you feel you're one with the whole world? It may be when you're out alone on a starry night and you see just nature, the stars twinkling, and you feel one with the universe. It may be when you first fall in love with someone and you feel expanded beyond measure, or the birth of a newborn child. Those times of joy. I remember going to Africa with our daughter, and she planned this little safari that we were driving through Tosha Park, and we saw all these animals and this big sky, and I felt so connected with all life. Those are the great drinks of white wine of joy that we can have, but it's equally important to be fully present at the times of sorrow and grief and loss, because all of that breaks us open. The white wine of joy can break us open to new connection, to new inspiration in life. But we go to those times of great sorrow. Kirk and I were around the bedside of a dear friend that was making his transition yesterday, and the tears were there and the sorrow was there, but there was more love than anything else. And the love was there so profoundly. And if we can't experience those times where we're broken open to a greater understanding, greater creativity, greater truly knowing, life is so full and rich. We don't get lessened when we go into the times of sorrow and grief and lift them up. We get expanded beyond measure. We need the wholeness of life in order to fully, truly live. So I want to leave that with you right now, just to think about, okay, where do I need to be more open and available? Where do I just need to be more open and available to all of life? Because that's when we can fully be the agents of understanding and compassion and kindness, when we don't separate ourselves from others. The Bible says what you do, it's in Matthew 25, what you do to the least, you do to me. Because what we have learned from all our talk of interrelatedness, and actually that's what I was going to talk about with Brian Swim, and I left him off. He has the 10 powers of the universe that he talks about are flowing through everything all the time since the beginning of time. These powers, they're quite intellectual, these 10 powers, but they're profound. And the 9th power is the power of interrelatedness, and it's the power of care and how we interact with one another, and how important that is to evolve to a place to heal the universe. And that's when we're thinking, if we're fully expanded in our embracing of the fullness of life, fully understanding all of it, that we can be related in all different ways, the power of care to make great change. So I want you to think in your life right now, gosh, where am I called to open? To open and be more available. I'd like to read you, the Apostle Paul talks quite a bit in the Bible about how we need to put away things that keep us separated from God and goodness. And he says in his letter to the Ephesians, he said, put away all of your bitterness, wrath, anger, wrangling, slander, together with all your malice. Oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. But he said, be kind to each other, tender-hearted, and forgive one another as God has forgiven you. That's a lot we're called to do, but as I said, we need to begin where we are. We just need to begin where we are and understand we're part of this evolving universe. And when we embrace all parts of life and understand we're part of this evolving universe, all of us, and that there's good in everyone. Some we see it more and some not so much, but there's good and kindness and love and spirit in everyone. We can start making more sense of this world we live in. You know, my call right now is to bring unity, and it's a hard call for us. But with all the changes happening, there's a unification that wants to come together. And as I said, we can be kind to people where we don't agree at all. That doesn't matter. We're here in the human experience together, and that's what matters. So my call for us today is to remember, just as I said, those iridescent wings of kindness, of divine love, last long after we have shared them and given them. They touch deeply, they touch the heart. So I'm going to invite you in this moment just to close your eyes, put your feet on the floor, and that beautiful meditation that Marianne read to us, so simple. We need simplicity in life right now. That if all we do in this moment is just ask Spirit to work through us, to take time quiet every day, to be kind, and just send a wish out to our world, our planet, the universe. May you be happy. And don't have a specific person at this moment, but enlarge it. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be safe. May you be at peace. To just send that out every day, that we may bless the world with who we are right now. As you tap into that hero, that divine love, that spark of goodness inside each one of us and everything, as we tap into that and let it ignite in our own self, we can feel the connectedness, the interrelatedness of ourselves with, of course, the people around us, the animals around us, the things around us, but we can expand that interrelatedness to feel ourselves as part of this beautiful, evolving world, which we can, with our innate wisdom, change to be a more peaceful, loving, kind, and giving place. We can do that right now as we open our hearts. And even if there's hurt and pain in there and joy and sorrow, just meld those together to break us open to the great understanding that life is good. There's a basic goodness in everything. And we can look for it, not know it right at the time, but know that it is there because God is there. Goodness is there. Life is there for us always. Always, always, always. So as we know that in this moment, I simply invite you to just think of the sisters, the missionaries of charity, as we become the agents of kindness. And think of doing small acts of kindness with great love, that we may look for the good in others, look for the good in life, uplift ourselves, uplift others, and be part of the unfolding good that is happening right here and right now, knowing that we are the agents of change, the emissaries of love, and beings of light. I'm just picturing all of the beings here and all of those on our live stream and all of you out in the world as lights in the world that bring us healing, that bring us peace, and make us safe right here and right now. And so it is. I didn't want to leave that space. It felt so good. Thank you again for being here, and I know that each one of you have what you need to go out and be those change agents in the world. And I thank you with all of my heart and all of my soul for being part of this center and sharing the light and the love in the world. Love you all.